5 women laughed at her for 3 years. They called her chopping board, flat, useless, nothing to hold, nothing a man would want. They laughed when she walked into the office. They laughed when she sat at their table. And one night at a party, they took their joke too far. Temi placed a tray of drinks on Adanna's back and shouted, "Everybody look, our human table is here." 50 people laughed. Someone recorded it. By midnight, the video was everywhere. But there was one thing those women didn't know. The quiet woman they had spent 3 years humiliating was the majority owner of the company they worked for. She had hired the CEO, she approved their salaries, she approved their promotions, and for 3 years, she had been watching them. The next night, at the biggest gala in Lagos, the CEO stepped onto the stage. He smiled. Then he said, "Tonight, the founder of Lumina Financial will finally reveal herself." Everyone expected a billionaire they had never seen. Nobody expected Adanna, the woman sitting at the back, the woman they called chopping board. And by sunrise, those 5 women would be on their knees, begging her for mercy. At exactly 8:03 every morning, Adanna walked through the glass doors of Lumina Financial. Always alone, always quiet, always carrying the same small black handbag. She never wore designer clothes, never arrived in a flashy car, never posted pictures from expensive restaurants, and she never tried to impress anybody. That was exactly why they thought she was nothing. Lumina Financial was one of the biggest fintech companies in Lagos. The building stood tall in Victoria Island, surrounded by glass towers, luxury cars, and people who dressed like every day was a fashion show. Inside that building, people competed over everything. Who had the newest phone? Who wore the most expensive watch? Who went on vacation first? Who had the richest boyfriend? And of course, who had the best body? Adanna lost that competition before she even entered it. She was 29. Beautiful. Very beautiful, actually. She had smooth brown skin, intelligent eyes, and a soft smile. But she was slim. Very slim. And she had a small chest. To Adanna, it was simply her body. To the women around her, it was entertainment. Especially Temi. Temi had 80,000 followers on Instagram and behaved as if Lagos belonged to her. She wore designer heels to work, her hair was always perfect, her nails were always fresh. And wherever Temi went, people followed. Shade followed everywhere. Bimpe followed when it was convenient, Zainab followed when there was something to gain, and Fola Shade simply watched. Together, the 5 women had become the unofficial queens of the office. And Adanna, she was the person they called when they needed something. "Adanna, please help me print this." "Adanna, can you order lunch?" "Adanna, I need 30,000 naira. I'll send it back Friday." "Adanna, please cover for me." She always helped. She rarely complained. Sometimes she even lent them money. Money they forgot to return. But somehow, she was still the joke. One Friday afternoon, the 5 women went to a restaurant in Lekki. Adanna was invited, or at least that's what she thought. They sat around a beautiful table overlooking the street. Temi picked up the menu. "Okay, girls, I'm ordering for everyone." She looked at Adanna, then slowly looked her up and down. A smile appeared on her face. "You?" Adanna looked up. "Yes?" Temi laughed. "Just order water." The table went silent for half a second. Then Shade burst out laughing. Bimpe covered her mouth. Zainab nearly choked on her drink. Adanna smiled politely. Temi continued, "With that body, you need to save whatever shape you have left." The laughter exploded. Adanna looked down at her menu. She didn't respond. That made Temi laugh even harder. "You people see why I love her?" Shade leaned toward Adanna. "Don't worry, maybe one day you will grow." More laughter. Adanna simply drank her water, but underneath the table, her fingers were tightly locked together. That was how it always happened. A joke, then another, until the joke became her identity. The following Monday, Adanna walked through the office carrying some documents. Bimpe was standing beside Zainab. The moment Adanna passed them, Bimpe whispered loudly, "Chopping board." Zainab laughed, flat on both sides. Bimpe nodded, nothing to hold. Then she added, "Who will marry this one?" They both laughed. Adanna kept walking. She didn't turn around, but she heard every word. She always heard everything. That was the thing about quiet people. People assumed they were not listening. They were. They simply didn't respond. By lunchtime, another joke started. Someone asked Adanna if she was dating anyone. Before she could answer, Temi shouted from across the cafeteria, "Dating?" Everyone laughed. "Who will date chopping board?" More laughter. Someone actually clapped. Adanna smiled. Again. That smile was becoming a habit, a mask. At home, it was worse. Her mother called almost every Sunday. And lately, even her mother had started repeating what other people said. "Adanna, you need to put on some weight." "Mommy, I'm fine." "I know you're fine, but men like something they can hold." Adanna closed her eyes. "Mommy, I'm only saying this because I'm your mother." There was a pause. Then her mother sighed. "People are beginning to talk." That sentence hurt more than anything Temi had said, because Temi was a stranger. Her mother was not. After the call ended, Adanna sat quietly on the edge of her bed. Her small apartment was neat, almost too neat. There were books on one side, a laptop on the table, and one framed photograph of a much younger Adanna standing beside her father. She stared at it. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Temi. "Chopping board, come over tonight." Another message followed, "And don't come empty-handed." Adanna stared at the screen for several seconds. Then she typed, "What should I bring?" Temi replied immediately, "Drinks, snacks, and your flat self." Adanna looked at the message for several seconds. Then she laughed, not because it was funny, because sometimes laughing was easier than crying. That night, she arrived at Temi's apartment carrying 2 bags of food and drinks. Music was blasting. About 50 people were already there. Temi saw her and immediately shouted, "Ah!" Everyone turned. "The chopping board has arrived." People laughed. Adanna smiled. She walked inside. Then Temi grabbed a tray of drinks. She placed it on Adanna's back. Perfect. The room exploded. "Look, she's useful. Best table in Lagos." Someone pulled out a phone. Another person started recording. Adanna stood there, frozen. The tray remained on her back. Her smile disappeared. For 1 second, just one, the entire room saw the real pain in her eyes. Then she forced the smile back. The video was uploaded to their private group, Chopping Board of the Year. Everyone laughed. Everyone except one person, Folashode. She stared at Adanna, and for the first time, guilt crossed her face. Adanna removed the tray. She placed it on the table. Then she picked up her handbag. "I'm tired." Temi laughed. "Don't be angry, babe. It's just a joke." Adanna looked at her. A strange calm had entered her eyes. "I know." She walked out. Nobody followed. Nobody apologized. Nobody asked if she was okay. But when Adanna reached the parking lot, she stopped. She looked back at the building. Then she pulled out her phone. Her fingers moved quickly. She opened an app nobody at Lumina had ever seen, a secure banking dashboard. At the top of the screen was her name, Adanna Okonkwo. Below it was a balance that would have made every person in that party go silent. 847 million naira. Adanna stared at the number. Then another notification appeared. Board meeting confirmed. Saturday, annual gala, full attendance. Adanna typed one sentence, moved the announcement forward. She pressed send, then she put her phone away. Her face was calm, almost peaceful, because for 3 years, she had allowed them to believe she was nobody, and now it was almost time for them to discover exactly who they had been laughing at. 3 years earlier,
and Adanna was 26, and she was sitting in a glass office 30 floors above Lagos. Across from her sat a lawyer in a dark suit. On the table was a thick folder. The lawyer pushed it toward her. "You understand what this means?" Adanna looked down at the papers, then back at him. "Yes. You have just sold 49% of Payflow for $23 million. Adanna said nothing. The lawyer continued. "Your company processes more than 40 billion naira in transactions every month." He smiled. "You are now the majority shareholder of one of the biggest privately held fintech companies in Nigeria." Adanna slowly looked through the glass wall. Lagos stretched beneath her. Cars moved like tiny dots. Buildings glittered under the afternoon sun. She had built Payflow from nothing. Late nights, cheap laptops, rejected proposals, investors who laughed at her. And now, she had won. The lawyer leaned forward. "So, what do you want to do next?" Adanna answered without hesitation. "I want to work there." The lawyer blinked. "Where?" "In Lumina." He frowned. "As the owner?" Adanna shook her head. "No." "Then as what?" Adanna looked directly at him. "A junior administrator." The lawyer stared at her. "You're joking." "No." "You own the company." "I know." "You can have your own office." "I don't want one." "You can hire a private team." "I don't want one." "Then why would you sit in a junior administrator's cubicle?" Adanna leaned back. Her voice was calm. "Because I want to know who people really are." The lawyer said nothing. Adanna continued. "People behave differently when the boss is watching." She looked out at Lagos again. "I want to see what they do when they think nobody important is looking." That was how it started. Adanna entered Lumina quietly. No announcement, no grand entrance, no designer clothes, no security detail. No one knew she was the majority owner, not even the employees who praised her company every day. She became just another worker. And for 3 years, she watched. Monday morning came. Adanna sat inside her tiny cubicle. Her desk was barely large enough for her laptop and a notebook. Around her, Lumina Financial was already alive. Phones rang, printers hummed, people rushed through the corridors. And then Temi walked past. Designer heels, perfect hair, expensive perfume. She was laughing with Sade. Bimpe and Zainab followed behind. Fuller Shade walked quietly at the back. Adanna watched them through the corner of her eye. Then her laptop screen changed. A secure internal portal opened. Adanna had access to almost everything. Salaries, performance reviews, expense reports, complaints, internal investigations. She clicked Temi's file. Her expression did not change. There it was. A suspicious expense report. Repeated payments, fake receipts, money disappearing in small amounts. Adanna opened another file, Sade. Her eyes narrowed. Messages, meeting records, an inappropriate relationship with the married CFO. Another click, Bimpe, fake academic credentials. The certificate she submitted during recruitment was not authentic. Adanna closed the files, one by one. She did not confront them, not yet. She simply wrote 3 names in her notebook, then closed it. Her phone buzzed. A message from Temi. Chopping board, bring snacks to my desk, chop chop. Adanna stared at it. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she typed, coming. She stood, picked up the snacks, and walked toward Temi's desk. Temi didn't even look up. Put them there. Adanna placed the bag down. Thank you. Adanna turned to leave. Temi laughed. See? At least you're useful for something. Sade laughed. Bimpe joined. Zainab smiled. Fuller Shade looked uncomfortable. Adanna simply walked away. But when she returned to her cubicle,
She opened another application, a private board portal. At the top was a list of directors. She typed one sentence. Move the gala to this Saturday. Full attendance. I'll be there. She pressed send, then closed the laptop. No smile, no anger, just silence, because the countdown had begun. Later that morning, an announcement appeared on every employee's screen. Lumina Financial Annual Gala. Black tie. All staff. Attendance mandatory. The office exploded. People started talking immediately. Temi screamed with excitement, "This is my night." Sade laughed. "You say that every year. This year is different." Temi opened her phone. The group chat exploded. Dress ideas, hair appointments, shoes, makeup, jewelry, photos, everything. Adanna's name appeared in the group. Someone tagged her. Then another message came. "Adanna, what are you wearing?" Before she could answer, Temi sent a laughing emoji. Then, forget it. She'll come in her usual curtain dress. Everyone laughed. Adanna read the messages. She locked her phone and continued working. Tuesday, lunch. The 5 women sat together in the cafeteria. Adanna sat at another table, alone. Temi looked across the room. "Guys," everyone looked at her. "What?" She pointed at Adanna. "What do you think she's bringing to the gala?" Sade laughed. "A pillow?" Bimpe nearly choked. Zainab added, "At least a pillow has some shape." The table exploded. Adanna heard them. She kept eating, slowly, quietly. She did not look up. Then Temi shouted across the cafeteria, "Adanna?" Adanna looked up. "Yes." "Are you bringing a date?" The cafeteria became quiet. Adanna opened her mouth. Before she could answer, Temi laughed. "Wait." She held her stomach. "Who would she bring?" Sade added, "Maybe her bag." More laughter. Someone clapped. Adanna smiled. That same small smile. The one everyone had become used to seeing. But this time, her fingers stopped moving. She placed her fork down, then picked it up again, and continued eating. Wednesday evening, Adanna's phone rang. "Daddy." She answered immediately. "Daddy?" His voice came through from abroad. "Adanna, what is this I'm seeing online?" Adanna went still. "What do you mean?" "I just watched a video of you." A pause. "Your friends were laughing at you. They put a tray on your back." Adanna closed her eyes. Her father continued, his voice now serious. "Stop this undercover thing immediately." Adanna. "Daddy, no." "Do they know who you are?" Adanna said nothing. "Do they know whose daughter you are?" "Daddy, I'm handling it." "You've been handling it for 3 years." His voice softened. "I didn't send you there to be humiliated." Adanna looked toward the framed photograph of him on her desk. "I know." "Then come home." Adanna shook her head. "No, Daddy." A brief silence. Then she said calmly, "Let me finish what I started." Her father sighed. "Adanna, I'll be fine." The call ended. Adanna lowered her phone. For the first time that week, her calm expression disappeared. She looked at the viral video on her screen. Then she whispered, "They still have no idea." Adanna sat alone in her apartment. Then she opened her laptop. One message to her personal assistant. "Activate the gala plan. All of it." The reply came almost immediately. "Understood." Adanna closed the laptop and looked at the framed photograph of her father. "It's time," she whispered. Thursday. The office kitchen was crowded. People were making coffee, eating snacks, talking about the gala. Then Temi walked in. She placed her handbag on the counter. "Guys, I have an idea." Everyone turned. "What?" Temi smiled. "We should roast Adanna at the gala." The room went quiet. Then Sade laughed. "Seriously?" "Yes." Temi was already enjoying herself. "Like a comedy segment." Bimpe laughed. The Chopping Board Chronicles. Everyone laughed. Even people who didn't find it funny smiled awkwardly. One employee looked down at her cup. Another quietly walked away. But nobody stopped Temi. She was too popular, too confident, too protected by the crowd. Then Temi raised her glass to the chopping board. Laughter filled the kitchen. Adanna stood outside the doorway, listening. Nobody saw her. She slowly stepped backward, then walked away. Her face remained calm. Friday, the final day before the gala. The office felt different. Everyone was excited, except Adanna. She walked toward the bathroom. As she approached, she heard voices, Sade and Zainab. She stopped. I honestly don't know why she still comes to these things, Sade said. Zainab laughed. Exactly. Sade continued. It's embarrassing. A pause. Then she added, like bringing a broom to a fashion show. Zainab burst out laughing. And after the gala, Sade lowered her voice. We cut her off. Completely? She's been dead weight for years. Adanna stood behind the bathroom door, listening. Every word, every insult, every laugh. For 3 years, she had wondered how much they really thought of her. Now she knew. She slowly opened the stall door. Sade and Zainab froze. Their smiles disappeared. Adanna walked toward the sink. Neither woman spoke. Adanna washed her hands, slowly. She looked into the mirror, then looked at them through the reflection. A warm smile appeared. See you both tomorrow. She picked up her handbag. And don't be late. Then she walked out. Sade stared at Zainab. What was that? Zainab shook her head. I don't know. Neither of them noticed the small smile on Adanna's face. Because tomorrow wasn't just the annual gala. Tomorrow, the woman they had spent 3 years humiliating was finally going to stop hiding.
By 7 that evening, Lumina Financial looked nothing like an office. It looked like a palace. Crystal chandeliers glittered above 500 guests. Cameras covered the room. A giant screen displayed the Lumina logo. Music filled the hall. Everyone was dressed to impress. And then Temi arrived. Red designer gown, diamond earrings, perfect hair. She walked in like a celebrity. Bimpe came in gold. Sade and Zainab followed in expensive dresses. Folashade came last. The 5 women took their seats at the front table. They laughed. They posed for pictures. They checked their phones. They were enjoying their night. Then Adanna walked in, alone. She wore a simple dark dress. No diamonds, no designer bag, no expensive jewelry. Just her small black handbag. Temi spotted her. She waved dramatically. Ah, Adanna, you tried though. Simple, but at least you're here. She pointed toward the back. Go and sit there. Your chopping board won't block anybody's view. The table exploded with laughter. Adanna looked at them. She said nothing. Then she walked to the back, exactly where Temi had sent her, and sat down. But tonight, something was different. She wasn't hiding. She was waiting. The gala began. Speeches, music, awards, applause. Then came Employee of the Year. The CEO stepped onto the stage. And this year's Employee of the Year award goes to... Pause. Temi Adebayo. The room erupted. Temi screamed. She stood up. Her friends jumped around her. She walked to the stage smiling, and Adanna watched, because 3 weeks earlier, she had personally approved that award. Temi stood at the microphone. Thank you. Her voice trembled with emotion. I want to thank Lumina Financial. I want to thank my team. I want to thank everyone who believed in me. Adanna watched quietly. Temi lifted the trophy. The crowd applauded. And for a moment, Adanna almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then Temi returned to her table, still smiling, still unaware. A few minutes later, the CEO returned to the stage, but this time, his expression was different. He adjusted the microphone. And now, pause.
The room slowly became quiet. We have one final announcement. People stopped eating. Phones came out. The cameras turned toward the stage. The CEO smiled. Tonight, the founder of Lumina Financial has decided to reveal herself. A murmur swept through the room. Someone whispered, "Founder?" The CEO continued. "For 3 years, she has walked among you." Silence. "She has walked beside you." Another pause. "She has watched you." The room became completely still. Tonight, he looked toward the back of the hall. "She steps into the light." The CEO lifted his hand. "Please welcome the founder and majority shareholder of Lumina Financial, Adanna Okonkwo."
Silence. Nobody moved. Then Temi laughed, a nervous laugh. Wait, she looked around. Adanna? Her smile disappeared. Slowly, every head turned toward the back. Adanna stood. The woman in the simple dark dress. The woman they had mocked. The woman they sent to the back. She picked up her handbag and walked forward. No hesitation, no fear, no apology. Her posture was different. Her eyes were different. She walked like someone who owned the building, because she did. The CEO stepped aside. Adanna climbed the stage. 500 people watched. She took the microphone. Silence. Absolute silence. Then she smiled. "Good evening." Nobody answered. She looked across the room. "Most of you know me as the admin girl." A few people lowered their eyes. "The one who brought coffee." Pause. "The one you called." She looked toward Temi. "Chopping board." A gasp moved through the room. Adanna let the word hang. Then she continued. "But do you know what a chopping board is?" Nobody spoke. "It is where everything is prepared." She looked around. "Every meal, every feast, every salary, every bonus, every promotion, every benefit you have enjoyed," her voice became firmer, "was prepared by the woman you mocked." Temi's face went white. Adanna turned toward her. "Temi." Temi froze. "You were Employee of the Year tonight." Temi looked down at her trophy. Adanna continued. 3 weeks ago, I approved that award." Temi's lips parted. "But I also approved an investigation into your marketing expenses." The room went silent. "You have been stealing 2 million naira every month." Temi's trophy slipped from her hand. It hit the floor. Clang! Nobody moved. Adanna turned. "Shade." Shade stopped breathing. "You work in HR." Shade's face changed. "And you have been having an affair with the married CFO." Whispers exploded. Adanna pointed toward table 7. "Her wife is sitting right there." Every eye turned. The woman at table 7 slowly stood. Her glass slipped from her hand. It shattered. Shade covered her mouth. "No." The CFO stood. "Please, let me explain." His wife walked away. Shade began crying. Adanna didn't stop. "Bimpe." Bimpe was shaking. "You were hired with a university degree." Pause. "It was fake." Bimpe's eyes widened. "No, that's impossible. The university has already confirmed it." Bimpe sank into her chair. Then Adanna turned. "Zainab." Zainab couldn't even look up. "You created a second payroll account." She swallowed. "For 14 months, company money has been going into your personal account." Zainab began crying. People moved away from her. Then Adanna looked at Folashade. Folashade was already crying. "And you," Adanna's voice softened, "you knew." Folashade covered her face. "You saw everything." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "And every time they mocked me," pause, "you said nothing." Folashade whispered, "I'm sorry."
Adanna looked at her for a long moment, then turned back to the crowd. By morning, every person involved will face the consequences. She raised her phone. The evidence has already been submitted. The CEO stepped forward. The authorities have been notified. The room erupted. People stood. Phones came out. The live stream exploded. Comments flooded the screen. "That's Adanna, the chopping board. She owns Lumina." Adanna placed the microphone down, then walked off the stage. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. The truth had already done the damage.
By midnight, Temi's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her followers disappeared by the thousands. Her boyfriend blocked her. Her mother called crying. "The whole church is talking." At 2 a.m., Sade's secret was everywhere. The CFO's wife had filed for divorce. At 4 a.m., Bimpe's engagement was over. Her fiancé released one sentence: "I don't know this woman." At 4 a.m., police officers arrived at Zainab's house. Warrant was shown. Her mother screamed. And at 7 a.m., Folashade stood outside Adanna's gate. She had been there since 5. She wasn't asking for her job. She wasn't asking for money. She only wanted forgiveness. Then, at 8, Temi, Sade, and Bimpe arrived together. No designer glamour, no confidence, no laughter. Their makeup was ruined. Their pride was gone. Temi walked toward the gate, then stopped. The woman who had laughed the loudest fell to her knees. "Please," her voice broke. "Please, Adanna." The intercom clicked. Adanna's voice came through, calm. "What do you want?" Temi sobbed. "My career." She wiped her face. "My family." Another sob. "Everything is falling apart." Then Adanna asked one question. "Did you ever," her voice was quiet, "in those 3 years, think about what you were taking from me?" Nobody answered. The gate remained closed. And for the first time, the women who had spent 3 years laughing at Adanna had nothing left to say. By 8 that morning, the 5 women were still outside Adanna's gate. Temi was on her knees. Sade was crying. Bimpe could barely speak. Zainab stood with her head down. Folasade kept whispering, "I'm sorry." Adanna stood behind the gate. She could see all 5 women. For 3 years, they had laughed at her. Now they could barely look at her. Adanna pressed the button. The gate slowly opened. The women looked up. Nobody spoke. Adanna walked toward them. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't angry either. She simply looked tired. Then she said, "Stand up." Temi slowly rose. Adanna looked at all of them. "I could destroy your careers. I could expose everything. I could make sure none of you ever walk again." Temi lowered her eyes. "But I won't." They looked at her in disbelief. Adanna continued, "Because revenge will not make me better than you." Her voice remained calm. "But you will do something today." She pointed toward their phones. "Bring out your phones." One by one, they obeyed. "Open your cameras." They opened them. "Now record yourselves." Temi looked confused. "Say exactly what you did." Silence. "Say exactly what you called me." Temi swallowed. Adanna's eyes remained fixed on her. "Say it." Temi looked into her camera. Her voice trembled. "My name is Temi Adebayo." She took a breath. "I bullied Adanna for 3 years." Her eyes filled with tears. "I called her a chopping board." Sade began recording. Then Bimpe. Then Zainab. Then Folasade. Each woman told her own story. No excuses, no editing, no hiding. Adanna watched. Then she said, "Post them."
Tammy looked up. Everywhere? Everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, every platform. By noon, the videos were everywhere. The title was simple. We called her a chopping board. 5 women, 5 confessions, 5 minutes of truth, and the internet exploded. By evening, the video had millions of views. People reacted. People argued. Women began sharing their own stories. Women talked about being called too thin. Others talked about being called too fat, too big, too small, too flat, too dark, too tall, too short, too anything. And suddenly, the story wasn't just about Adanna. It was about everyone who had ever been made to feel like their body was a mistake. By evening, the hashtag chopping board was everywhere. But Adanna didn't celebrate. She simply went back to work. She didn't fire the women. She gave them a choice: resigned with dignity or face the consequences of their actions. One by one, they resigned, except for Lasade. She stayed, not because she wanted Adanna's forgiveness, but because she finally understood something. Silence can also hurt people. And for the first time, they understood being powerful wasn't about destroying people. Sometimes it was about having the power to destroy them and choosing not to. Later that evening, Adanna sat alone in her new office. The Lagos skyline glittered beyond the glass windows. Her office was large, elegant, quiet. Everything she had once refused to have. Her phone buzzed. A message from a girl she didn't know. Adanna opened it. The girl wrote, "I am very thin too. They call me the same things they called you. I have cried because of it, but today I feel seen. Thank you." Adanna smiled. She typed back, "They called me a chopping board." She paused, then added, "But a chopping board is where meals are prepared." She sent the message, then looked out at Lagos and smiled. They had called her too thin. They had called her useless. They had called her a chopping board. But they never stopped to ask what was being prepared on her back. They never asked who she really was. They only judged what they could see. And by sunrise, those same women were begging her for mercy. Remember this: people will always have something to say. Too fat, too thin, too big, too small, too dark, too tall, too short, too anything. But your body was never created to satisfy somebody else's opinion. Be careful with your words, because the person you mock today may be the very person you need tomorrow. And sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one who has every reason to fight back, but chooses kindness instead. So, tell me, have you ever been mocked because of your appearance, and did it change the way you see yourself? Tell me your story in the comments. And if this story touched you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today.